Hey guys, welcome to Paleo Greenbird here. Today's video is going to be a video regarding slab napping. I did get a comment from T Wrecks911 saying that he's having a little bit of difficulties getting flakes to, I'm not sure if it's run fully across, if what he's looking for, or run far enough across center line to where he can attack him from the other side. But you know, either way, I have a couple of ideas of what might be going on based upon what I experienced when I first started napping slabs, and so I thought I'd share that in this video. So T-Rex, a couple of things. First, I would say make sure you start with well-maintained tools. So make sure that your flakers are relatively sharp. I mean, obviously you don't want them too sharp. And for that, some people pound them with a hammer. I just use this file, a little technique I stole from, I believe, Rex Techs, and just dragging the nail up the file. And then at the end, I found, he probably has a better technique, but I found at the end I still need to kind of just touch it up just a little bit. But you want to do that slowly because you don't want to heat the copper, and that's why most people, or a lot of people, will hammer it flat instead, because it's less, creates less heat, doesn't weaken the copper. So that's number one, well-maintained tools. Number two, where's my grinder? I gotta get my grinder. Even with the saw marks, you're still going to want to give this a really good grind. I apologize for the background noise. That's my heater. It's really cold here in Maine. Really, really windy. So even if I brave the cold, the audio would be horrible. So I'm in my basement, which I do not recommend, especially with obsidian. But we're not going to do this whole slab. We're just going to do enough to see if we can improve your situation. If you are going to nap indoors, make sure you have like a good fan going, good ventilation. Alright, so that is my ground edge. So, the second thing that I'll share with you is when I first started slab napping, I just tried to get the job done as quickly as I could. And I would dig in there and I'd try and take that big flake, and sometimes it would come off, and even if you get those big flakes to run across, it still just creates so much concavity, or convexity, that it becomes a thick point. It's not something that's really conducive to a good point anyway. So my suggestion on that would be, try and take your flakes a little lighter off the top. So just enough to skin it. That's where I think that's where everybody uses that term, skinning. And obviously the tip's going to be easier, so I'll do the tip first, and then we'll work our way down. Clear your pad. That's another good one. Always clear your pad, because if you have chips that are stuck in your pad, that will stall the flake. Just let me get past this tip here. Alright. Inadvertently, I came across one of the things I was going to tell you about. When you space your flakes, space them almost to where you think you're not going to feather out, the saw marks next to your other flake. I mean, obviously, in the best case scenario, you want to keep them feathered. But what this does is this allows me to come back later and, obviously take off all those saw marks that are still there and take the flake off. But my point is that if I had made a mistake on this second one, see how that second one ran a little short? Now I have the opportunity to use the edge here on this side where my flake didn't really run all the way across. I still have that platform. Not only can I shoot that flake straight across, but if I need to correct, if I have like an island in here, I can sort of aim that flake in a particular direction that will help correct the previous error. So I'm going to actually leave that there for now, because that doesn't really bother me. I know I can take that. Oops, I'm on the wrong side. Look at me. I'm going to leave that in. I'm not even going to edit that out. So I'm going to build pressure going down, and when I feel like I've built enough pressure, I'm going to pluck it off. I should be using my knee, but I'm going to use my, almost like an issue stick, I'm going to secure my elbow against my torso, against my body. I am going to push with this knee. So down and out. It's kind of a short flake. There we go. That corrected. Those saw marks that you see up the top there, that's that first flake we took. I mean, I could correct that right now if I wanted to. Maybe I will, just for the heck of it. I don't need to. And realistically, I probably shouldn't. But I'm going to, just to kind of prove the point, that see how that corrected that? Remember that island that you see over here, we haven't even started that pass yet. So now I'm going to take that delta, try and explain this a little bit better. That delta right here off that last flake that I took, see it? And I'm going to push that all the way to the end of my pad. So all the way up, so it's almost touching. So it looks like I'm not even really taking the flake off of that delta. So what it feels like initially is that, you know, boy, you should be taking that delta because now you're leaving a huge space. But the way that it feathers, look at that, takes it right off, even though I was nowhere near that delta. Yep. You can argue I have kind of a scoop here, but I'll get that from this end and also clean it up from the other end. Same thing. I'm going to push the edge of that delta right here all the way to the edge of my pad. See if I can get a decent picture of it together. So you can see the groove of my pad. You can see that that delta is right against it. So that delta is not what I'm taking when I take my flake. This is just how I do it. This might not be the best way. It seems to work for me. Down and out. And we get a decent flake. Doesn't have to go all the way across. And because I did that spacing, I have a decent delta. If I want to take that previous flake a little bit further, I can hit that delta, but I don't need to. I can get that from the other side. No need at all. So I'm going to do a couple of flakes here. Line that delta right up to the edge of my pad, groove. Pushing pressure down, building it, and then popping it out. Squeezing with my knee over here on this side. Not on that delta, but right in the middle of the groove. Oh, that was a terrible flake, but it still ran. I'll have to fix that. Same thing though, same way of fixing it. Put the delta there. It's just maybe sometimes you have to aim your flaker in a particular direction. Obviously you don't want to do too much in any direction because you will affect your flake pattern. Now you didn't mention anything about braking, but I will just add this into the video. You don't want to have a death grip on this. I always tell my daughter when I'm trying to show her, it's like a bar cord. You want to keep pressure on this side here, a little pressure. You don't even need a lot there, but you don't want to be squeezing right there in the middle because you'll snap it. If you don't snap it now, those habits will lead you to snap it later when the point becomes thinner. See, look, I'm just taking just off the surface. You can hardly even tell. Now, I overemphasize that one, but you could hardly even tell that that last flake that I even took anything off. But see how far it runs? Yep. And that thing right there in the middle that you're seeing, that long flake, or the long island down here, not only can I get it from this other side, but I actually have enough of a platform on this side to take that again on a future pass if I want to. And that's really what it's about, is it's just skinning this little by little. In my opinion, again, I'm self-taught. Nobody's ever told me how to do this. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a lot of help from people online. So I'm just barely, I mean, when we get done with this first pass, it's not even going to look like we started it. All it looks like it's going to do, or all it's going to look like, is that we took away the saw marks. Or the, you know, the effect that's created by the saw. So look at that, now we're down to the base area. See how far that flake went? And I was not putting a lot of effort into that. Line that delta right up to the edge of the groove. I just built that pressure, popped it off, but I wasn't really, you know, I wasn't in the middle like this. I don't know how to show it. I wasn't like way in there. I was just right on the edge. Maybe I can zoom in for this. So there's my delta. I push it against the groove of the pad. I'm going to go into the center of the groove. I'm going to pop my flake. I'm going to push down, just barely on the edge. I mean, in there a little bit. Otherwise, you'll just get crushing. But you don't want to be right in there trying to take off these giant flakes. Just let it do its thing. There we go. You can see the tension. I built it and then popped it out. Ooh, that was a terrible flake. I'm not even going to show you that. But I will fix it. There we go. So this is actually a pretty good example of, I'll show you this. I dug a little bit deep. Oh, I gotta back out. Dug a little bit deep on that one. Came up short. So how do I fix that? Is this thing just done? So there's two ways I can do it. I do have a platform, if you can see it. I do have a platform right here. That if I grind that off, I can pop that flake off. It just doesn't want to pick it up, but there's a high spot there that I can use as a platform. It's tempting to do, but I'm telling you, in my experience, just move on, get it later, because sometimes this happens. You take your next flake and it self-corrects. I mean, we still have some junk over here on this side, but, you know, we'll get that from the other side without a doubt. Same thing with this stuff up here. Ideally, you want it to run at least, you know, across the center, but when it doesn't, don't worry about it. If you use that spacing, there's always a way to fix it, in my opinion, in my experience. Oh, whoops, that was a bad flake. But because I left myself that spacing, I could back up a little bit, correct it. Yep, and that feathering took care of. Okay, so this is good. So we have a spot that's going to be a little bit tough. That's actually good. Nope. Sorry, I fixed it. That technique just works by itself. Not sure where I learned that. Somebody told me that. The pushing the delta right up to the edge of the groove of the pad. The one on the back, one on the bottom of the base is always the toughest. I usually end up having to clean it up north and south. Yeah. So that's our, so let's zoom out a little bit, I guess. So this is our first pass. Not bad. You know, we've got some spots that didn't go all the way across. And obviously down here in the base, that'll be fine. That will all shoot across. I'm not worried about that. I can always shoot up a little bit too. But whatever we don't get, you know, when we flip this, start running flakes the other direction, whatever we don't get, because we left the slab thick enough, we've got tons of either deltas and platforms that we can use, or enough you know, thickness to where we can grind everything down real smooth and almost start as if it's a new slab. So let's do this other side. So let's just take one more look. It's not super pretty. Needs a lot of work. Some spots came out good, some spots did not. So let's do that other side and see if we can get one fully skinned side. And like I said, I'm not going to do this whole preform because, for one, I don't like knapping inside like this. You know, especially with obsidian, it's the worst. Anytime I knap obsidian inside, I always go to bed with a sore throat. So you can see I'm grinding the crap out of it. I'm really grinding it good. I know it's just obsidian, but still. It's glass, basically, so it requires a little bit more grinding than some of the harder stones. So I'll start back at the tip. Not much exciting there. It's pretty easy to drive a flake on the tip, isn't it? But I still use the same principles. I still line the delta up with the groove of the pad while trying not to insert obsidian into my fingertips. Another good thing, always clean the pad. I think I already mentioned that, but always make sure that pad is clean, because it will stop your flake dead in its tracks. There we go, that was a good flake. And it's because I was focusing on proper form. It really is an art. There we go. Same thing, lining the edge of the delta up to the end of the groove of the pad. It's just on this side. The groove happens to be, or the alignment happens to be on this side of the groove instead of this side of the groove. That's all. It's just because we flipped the point. All right. So that gets stuck in there. Just get rid of it. But we're coming along nicely so far. We're getting to those problem spots, though. I can't wait to see how those go. Alright, so here we have a really good opportunity to get an island right here. Because you can see if I push that flake off on the top part, you know, towards my thumb, it's going to miss the part that needs to come off. And the same if I hit the bottom. And if I hit the middle of it, I don't make it go far enough, then there's an automatic island there. And if I have too much convexity, convexity on my point, I'll never be able to run that point. Run that flake. But because I still have flat edges, that's going to help me significantly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first flake, as if I normally would. And then when I take that second flake, I might just angle it a little tiny bit towards where that island is. And yeah, it is going to affect your flake pattern. But remember, this thing is still basically going to be a slab after that first pass, so there's plenty of time to correct that as well. Although anytime you correct something, it's extra work. It's better if you just do it right the first time, but sometimes you don't do it right the first time. Okay. That was the result of that flake. So you can see there's still a huge island hazard there. So let's see if I correct it here or if I need to. So what I'm doing is I'm going to line that delta up with the edge of the groove, but I'm going to tilt it just a tiny bit, the most, like only barely noticeable, so that that flake might drive not just straight across, but just a little bit down to pick up that island there, that potential island. Don't know if it'll work, but if it does, great. If it doesn't, not a big deal either. Yeah, and we got lucky on this one. It worked. Just a little bit of an angle change. So again, I'm going to line my delta up with the edge of the groove. Pressure flakers in the middle, down, pushing it and popping it out when you kind of got to get the feel of it, but you will, or you have probably. Yep. Okay. And we got a little bit, let's see if you can see it. Right here. A little bit of an island, kind of an island. Doesn't look like it on camera, but it is. But obviously we'll be able to get that around the next pass. So if I'm impatient, I could actually use that, you know, that flake, that island is right on a delta. So if I wanted to, I could use that delta right there to pop that flake off. But I know I've got so much more time left in the game. So same thing, I'm analyzing the flake pattern that I have there and the potential for creating islands and adjusting my angle accordingly. Wow, I've just got terrible light down here, but so you can see that. You can see that I might have, you know, it might pay dividends to come across a little bit instead of coming straight across, maybe at a little bit of an angle. Go, kind of crappy form, but whatever. Same thing, just lining the deltas up to the groove, down and out. And this is the base, this is the hardest part, so maybe a little bit of extra pressure build before you pop it off. Alright, so there we have it. We have the first side skinned. No islands. Had plenty of mess ups where I could have gotten islands, but there were a few strategies that I used to you know, kind of prevent that from happening. Still need some touch up on the base, but I can come up, or I can wait until the next east and west passes and get it that way too. So I think the main thing that might help you, T-Rex, is obviously making sure that your tools are in good condition. I'm sure you probably already know that. making sure everything's well ground. You probably already know that as well. But I guess maybe something that you may or may not know, but line those deltas up with the edge of the groove, depending upon which direction you're flaking, really helps, because instead of just going from platform to platform to platform, you ruin one platform and you've kind of it's very difficult to fix, and it doesn't create a very good flake pattern either. But when you stagger those, even if you stagger them and you're getting things like this, if that's picking that up, yeah, see that where it didn't remove the saw marks? That's okay, because if you're just barely skinning the surface just to start your initial pass, you'll be able to fix that without any issue at all. I mean, without any issue at all. And that will also prevent those steep flakes on that second pass. If you're getting steep flakes on the second pass, then in my opinion, the first pass you're taking is too aggressive. It's going you're putting the pressure flaker too far into the, down the center line of the stone before you take it off. And what happens is basically, as that flake travels, it's going to lose energy, and eventually when it loses energy, it's going to either stall and become a step or a hinge, which you did not mention as an issue, so I'm guessing that's not what's happening, or it's going to drive the energy straight up and feather out, in a short appearance, instead of going long across, the flake. And I apologize, I have a cold, so I know I'm kind of stuttering and not speaking very clearly, but that's that's basically what I think might help improve your next slab, is thinner, less aggressive bites with the pressure flaker, maybe adjusting how where you position the slab in between each flakes. But if there's any other questions, or you have anything that isn't clear, or anything that you'd like to see again, I'd be happy to do another video, so just let me know. So really cool. Glad that you're participating in my channel and you gave me an inspiration to make this new video. So I hope this helps you. Let me know how it goes, and if it doesn't, then let's chat. Let's talk a little bit more, because slabs are an awesome way to have fun, quick, and easy gratification. Get yourself a nice point. Oftentimes they look really impressive. So alright, hope everybody enjoyed this. Let me know. Talk to you later. Grainbird out. Okay, so one more thing, T Wrecks911, that I noticed, it came to mind after I shut the video off, is that you had mentioned that you were getting short flakes on the second pass. That could also be because, I mean, look how steep the deltas are. Even when we take those little thin passes, maybe give your slab a little bit of a grind on the top. Okay, where'd my grinding stone go? Over here. Maybe a little bit on just on that surface, and a little bit more. Maybe if you can reduce the height of those deltas, that will also, see it again here. See, if you can reduce the height of those deltas, that will bring the platform down a little bit. Well, it actually brings it up, but for all practical purposes, when you go to take that flake, instead of that delta being super high and maybe not having enough of a ridge to run off of, if you can take the the high point off on this side, it'll follow that thick ridge that you've created from your last flake. So that could also be, that just came to me right now. So, hey, thanks, you taught me something today. That could be another issue. If that ridge is too high, it'll just pop off, it'll feather out and end where the height of the ridge ends, instead of driving all the way through the stone. So you could lower those, and I've done that kind of subconsciously, but I've never really thought of it in that regard. So that's awesome. So again, okay, all right, hope that helped. T Wrecks911, thanks a lot. Take care.